one of the tech-savvy teachers from the Northwest Council for Computer Education, and today I am reviewing Halftone 2 from Juicy Bit Software. It's an iPad/iPod iPhone application in the App Store. It's $1.99, and it's the second in the series of Halftone apps from Juicy Bit Software. It's also a case in point that the iPad is more than just a content consumption device. It can also be a very effective content creation device. So let's take a look at the application. I have installed today on iPad 3, running iOS 7, which is the most recent version of the operating system, on a hardware platform that's nearly 2 years old. So it's a platform that you might see a lab in a classroom or a lab in a school, which is why I chose this particular platform today. You open up the application and you're given a pretty simple interface. You can add a new document. And then from here you can be given a platform for creating comic-like structures. Kind of like a comic book, but you can use your own media to ultimately do so. If you click on any individual page, you can be given a palette to work with the particular images. In this case, I'm going to click on this little page icon to get the background information. You can choose a variety of different layouts, which is a very powerful feature for creating a diverse look. And I can also create different background styles, giving it a different kind of distressed look depending on the look I'm going for. I'm going to choose that nice gray background. From here, you can take a look at media that sits on your device. So you can take pictures using your iPad or iPhone or iPod Touch and then put those directly into the comic. So earlier today, I took some pictures of my cat, which is a good thing to do to show an application. Here's my camera roll. You'll notice that Stash My Cat here. She makes good fodder for applications. So I'm going to go ahead and click on a picture of Stash here. And I can then modify the image as necessary by adding captions if I'd like. I can modify those captions with whatever text I'd like. Take those nice banners and modify them to my heart's content. And add an interesting series of stamps. If I wanted to have Stash have a bow tie look, I could go with that here. Notice I can pinch and zoom various stamps and add as much annotation as I'm interested in the individual cartoons. Here's Stash looking kind of fierce. And I can delete these as much as I want to. To create kind of a comic effect. And so it's a very powerful platform for taking these images and sucking them into a comic format. From here, the most interesting options is you can actually take these photorealistic photographs and turn them into more of a kind of cartoony looking environment. So here you can see I can click on the share menu. The share gives me several options, including mail, to email the images, Twitter, Facebook, Flickr, Dropbox, and Weibo, which is actually a Chinese microblogging service that's somewhat like Twitter, but available in mainland China. In this case, I'm going to choose Preview because it's going to give me the option to take a look at what this looks like after it's been processed. And some warning, it does take some time, and the process to do so does seem somewhat CPU intensive. So you can see here that the images have been modified somewhat in order to make them look more cartoony. So you could take photographs and then manipulate them using this particular software to give it a more cartoon feel to it. It's got a lot of layouts and backgrounds and stamps and different varieties of balloons you can use for text and for adding annotation. It's a fairly powerful platform that gives you a fairly polished product that a student could be proud of at the end of the project. One other thing to note is that the system itself does have a series of videos that give you a sense on how the process works. This is at juicybitssoftware.com. These are the tutorial videos that go through all the different pieces. You'll notice here that the videos themselves are anywhere from 1 to 4 minutes. Although I will note that one of the reasons why those videos are interesting is because I did need to utilize the videos in order to figure out the interface. It wasn't particularly intuitive. It did take some time for me to manipulate the various images, and although I'm sure that many students that are used to the kind of physical aspect of an iPad for content creation will probably find that it's pretty easy to use, but I did need to utilize several of the tutorial videos before I felt comfortable in recording this review. So let me tell you a little bit about the pros. First, it's very high quality output. There are excellent media outputs that are done at the end of the project. I was able to very quickly create 3 or 4 page comics, share them in both an image and a PDF format, and they looked great. They were really great outputs. Second, there's lots of interesting ways that you can annotate or modify the cartoons. So there are different kinds of stamps and balloons that you can add different functions to. The colors are pretty infinitely changeable, so you can add a different color tone to it if you want to. I found that to be very interesting and adds a lot of creativity to the application itself. And it had really great tutorial videos. The tutorials were easy to use, they were quick, they got to the point. And after watching 2 or 3 of them, I was able to kind of go through the app without much trouble. The cons are interesting. First, to be quite frank, you really need the tutorial files. This is not an easy-to-use application. I downloaded it initially in order to attempt to do it off the grid, and I wasn't able to do as much with the application as I hoped until I went back on the grid again and looked at various websites to try to find help and ran into the tutorial videos. Second, it's not very intuitive. I think that's a big piece of this process, that it's not something that I think many people would find easy to create the comics right away. For using it in a long-term project where you had some time to learn the platform first, I think that would be helpful. Next, I didn't find the interface to be particularly responsive, and you probably saw a little bit of that at the beginning of my creation of the comics, but moving things around doesn't necessarily come as quickly as you might think. And one of the reasons why I had a difficulty in learning the application was that it took me a while to figure out how to move things around, because touching and dragging the various pieces to annotate my pictures wasn't as responsive as I wanted it to be. It could be that it's because I'm on an iPad 3, which is not the latest generation of hardware. I purposely didn't test this on the latest generation hardware because I wanted to see how it functioned on older hardware, and it didn't feel particularly responsive to me. 2 other pieces that have to do with sharing these particular objects when you're done. It does have a great share menu, as I showed you earlier. I did share out to Dropbox, and I found 2 problems in doing that. The first one is that it was really slow. It took, by my count, about 3 minutes to send that file to Dropbox, and I don't know if that's a factor of the application. I don't know if that's a factor of Dropbox. But as a Dropbox user, I've had much better luck at sharing things from applications in iOS much more quickly, so I don't know what the factor was there. And finally, the files were huge. It created a PDF file in Dropbox, which is a great format to share a multi-page comic in. I used the medium setting, so the image quality was not the highest available, and it created a 15 megabyte file for just a 2-page document that didn't have any pictures in it. So I found that to be a little curiously high, and I wondered if a really big file with high quality photos and the image quality set to the highest, you can see here I can choose high quality images as part of the Dropbox settings, I wonder if that would be impossible or difficultly large files to handle. So this is Halftone 2. It's available from Juicy Bit Software. It's in the iOS App Store, $1.99. It's a universal app. It's available on both the iPad and the iPhone/iPod Touch. I'm generally positive of this software. I think it's a great creation app that helps prove that the iPad is a great content creation app as much as it is a content consumption app. So, if you want to see more reviews, go to NCCE's YouTube channel or the Tech Savvy Teacher blog at blog.ncce.org. Have a great day.